Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Sunday Morning Coffee with Lisa. This is Spiritual Coach Lisa Hopp. It is June 9th, and I hope you're already having a wonderful Sunday, a wonderful morning. It's kind of fall-like here in New Jersey, but tomorrow we are going to have some torrential rain coming up from North Carolina. So all thoughts and prayers going to North Carolina for all the flooding that you're experiencing, and also to the rest of the country for the challenges weather-wise that we've been going through this week and even before this week. I'm happy that you're here with me today. It's been an interesting week. I wasn't sure what to talk about today because there's so many topics I could talk about, but as I was sitting there kind of meditating this morning, enjoying the fall-like weather, I thought, well, you've talked about gratitude, you've talked about raising your vibration. How about talking about faith? Because faith is something I think we all can connect to and how it can test us. And every single person, I think, who's ever existed has been tested in their faith at one time or another. Even, Jesus Christ himself was tested on the cross, feeling abandoned, feeling alone for a moment. Mother Teresa wrote about the dark night of the soul and being tested of faith. So it is something that we're all in together. I find myself throughout my life that my faith is always rewarded. And I firmly believe that if my faith is rewarded, then everybody's faith must be rewarded. Because I say this constantly. There's nothing about me that is any more unique or special than any other human being. I'm not loved more than another. I'm more in tuned sometimes than others. I can see the synchronicities happening and heaven working on earth. And so maybe that makes me, I guess, a little bit different than others, but or some others, because we all have been given a sixth sense. But I have learned that faith is always rewarded. For me, it usually comes, I don't want to say every time, but it often comes in the 11th hour when I'm ready to, when I'm at my point where I'm almost ready to give up. I don't want to say I'm down on my knees, but I am ready to give up. But I'll say to myself, or even to be truthful, I'll even just say out into the air, one more second. One more hand extended. I'm not going to give up. I'm going to believe. I know the help's going to come. I know the faith will be rewarded. I know the prayers have been heard. And every single time, right after that, something happens. One of the greatest times and tests for me, and yes, here's your Sunday morning story. One of the greatest tests of faith for me was when I was very young. I was about 19. And I went through a time where I wasn't sure I was at a crossroads. I wasn't sure what I wanted to do with my life, where I wanted to live. I didn't have much of a love life at the time. Everything was, I felt very lost. I'm a big fan of the Beatles and John Lennon, and I recall hearing all the time about his lost years in the early 70s. So I often say I had my lost years, though really it was a short amount of time. Perhaps it was a year rather than years, but it was a very lost time. And I was at the time faith-filled, so I was often turning to help. I tried to talk to people, but no one seemed to be available. And I don't mean in a way of family and friends. I meant professionals. And a couple of times I approached a priest because I was raised Catholic. And I tried to talk to them, but they were always busy. And I didn't give up. I didn't feel anger. I eventually, during that time, did move out of state for a little bit. And I tried to reach out to a professional helper there and a priest, but nothing would ever work out. So I felt very much alone. I felt like it was my work to sort it out myself with the help of qualified people. And I just found like I wasn't having any luck. So eventually I came back to my hometown and set about working in temporary situations and reading and continuing the journey. And one day, and I want to say also that all the time still asking for help through prayer, feeling lost, feeling sad, and perhaps even depression, all of that. But one day I felt an overwhelming urge to go to church. It was a usual Mass day, a Saturday evening, and I almost didn't go. But something said to me, one more time, one more hand extended. So I went. And I sat there quietly through the Mass, and then I went to leave. And I did pause for a moment to think once again about talking to someone. But I'd had such bad luck before, I thought, no, forget it. It's not going to work out again. It hasn't before. And I walked to my car. Now, I had a pretty new car at the time. It was only a few years old. It was in good condition. I got into the car and it wouldn't start. And I knew that shouldn't have been happening. And I also knew, because I'm a mechanic's daughter, that you don't flood the car. So I sat there with complete patience, giving the car time before I tried it again. I watched all the cars in the parking lot leaving, clear out. And I would say probably at least 30 minutes, I tried it 2 to 3 times to start the car, and it wasn't starting. Well, this was back in the day before cell phones, and so I had to find a phone to call for help. And the rectory, which is the home where priests live, was locked. So I didn't want to go to a stranger's home, so I went into the church knowing that the priest was in there holding confessions. And I waited my turn. So I happened to be the last to go in, and I sat down. And I don't know what came over me, but my Monsignor and I talked for 90 minutes that evening. And when I left, I had a lot sorted out. And I am still grateful for him today. He has transitioned to heaven. But I'm very grateful to him today for the time that he gave me. A lot of the questions he couldn't answer, but he had patience and understanding and, empathy and holiness and grace, all of that night. And I appreciate it so much. I then told him, after 90 minutes, that I really just came in to use the phone. And he had a little smile on his face, that smile you have when you really want to maybe hurt someone, but you're not going to because it's against your higher nature. And he gave me a key to the rectory, but I didn't need the key because the rectory was then open. And I called my father to come help me with my car. Well, I guess you can tell the end of the story. The car started up fine. My father, who's a very good man, was a bit irritated that he had come for no reason. The car was in perfect working condition, he said. There was nothing wrong with it. And of course it must have been something I did, right? But I knew that it wasn't anything I'd done. I knew there was something unusual going on. And I understood it completely. My faith had paid off. My faith had received the answers. My faith extended one last time with reward. And there have been many times like that over my life, and I bet you can think of times like that as well, where you didn't give up and something happened and helped you through. Maybe it is somehow getting the payment up for a bill that you couldn't pay, like your house, or a huge bill that came out of nowhere. Maybe it's, help in other ways. Maybe it's not giving up of the hope of having a good test result for your health. Maybe it's the faith that pays off when you finally find that person that is right for you. There's so many ways that our faith can be rewarded. And I find to this day, I'm ever amazed by all the times in my life where it paid off. So now, here's what I want to say. We are tested. And so I'd like to ask that in those moments where you are tested, know that it's normal, it's natural, and that you're wonderfully human. But if you could just remember during those times to keep your mind on the faith, and that your faith matters, and to hold out for the last moment, the last second, and never give up on that help. That will help you to get through the storms. That will help you to get through the times when you are the most tested. And then when you see the miracle, it will be more amazing than ever. And it will increase your faith and increase your love of life, because this life is amazing. If you could see, and I hope you do see, all the amazing things going on. The sun, the moon, the beautiful flowers, the mountains. I was just in Denver and I was so amazed by the Rocky Mountains. There's nothing like them. Well, they're the best mountains I've seen so far. This world is amazing. And so when those moments come that you're tested, think about all the amazing things, all the things of this world that were created just for you, just for all of us. The oceans, the ocean tides, the beautiful fish, the land. That's all ours, and it's amazing. And also I want you to know just how much you're loved. And every single one of us, no matter how much we're loved, can feel alone, can feel sadness, can feel unloved. But that's not the case. At every moment, someone and some being is standing there with you. When I was going through my moment of lost year, someone was watching and listening all along. And I know, even though at the time I didn't see it, there was a purpose to why I had to go through that time. I know there was a lot of growth. I know I needed to have that miracle to show how much I was loved. So there is a purpose to everything. But not for one moment are you ever alone. And you are allowed to ask for your departed loved ones and your angels and your spirit guides and even the big guns such as God and Jesus and Blessed Mother Mary, all of them. Or any one of your faith, Moses, Buddha, whoever you want to ask for, you can speak to. They may not answer you with a booming voice, but they will give you a sign that they've heard at some point. Know that they're there, whomever you most want, and they are helping you all the time. We often don't see with our naked eye and our feelings. And while enduring the stresses of our life, we often don't notice what's around us, what's happening. There's always something happening on our behalf. There's always work being done. There's always things being worked out. I know that. It's not a belief, I know that. And I know that there are times in our lives when we struggle, when we are tested. Some of us are barely making ends meet. Some of us are trying to get health back. Some of us are going through a divorce. But all of us are special in the eyes of that energy, of that creator, of that source. And we're always hurt, and we're always loved, and we're always blessed. So on this wonderful Sunday, no matter where you are, but especially if it's nice out, get outside, enjoy that creation, that bird, the birds, the wind, the sun. And as much as possible, be thankful. By the way, you are allowed to be human. You are allowed to sometimes scream or get angry at those helpers. They understand because they know who you truly are. They hear everything you think, everything you say, everything you feel. So it's okay to be human. They created you as a human so that they could adore you. They know who you are. So you're allowed to go out there, and you're allowed to say it in your bedroom, wherever you want. You're allowed to say, I'm not happy right now. I need help. Where are you? It's not all right. It's not fair. You're allowed to do that. But be sure when you do that you step back and you hear them, because they will respond. Eventually, I'm going to do a series about how the angels speak to us. They speak to us through numbers. They speak to us through synchronicities. They send white feathers. There's so many signs. Look around you. Just because they're not appearing right in front of you as a being or as a beloved departed grandmother, it doesn't mean they're not there. They have their own way of showing themselves with their energy. And whatever is synchronistic, coincidental, and I want to say odd, timely, is always them. So look around for that answer. If you're having a good talk with heaven and suddenly a bird sits down in front of you and is staring at you, that's someone that's trying to give you a message. It always means it's okay and you'll be okay. And if you've recently had someone depart, I'm okay. But it's always positive and it'll always be there in some way, whether right away or very shortly after. As long as you're not blocking, because we all can block by looking too hard and waiting too hard and turning our back on watching. And so, do know that you can have those human conversations, but also try as much as you possibly can to see the magnificence around you and to know that you are always guided, always helped, always loved, always adored, and always blessed. Faith always rewards. As long as you do not give up the faith, it'll always come. I decided to tell the story that was so long ago, so many decades ago, because it still amazes me today. It came up in my mind just recently, so it's a recent reminder. But as I said before, there's been many. When I've been in the hospital, there has been help. When I have been lonely at the holidays, there has been help. It's always come. It is there. Please don't ever give up on it, because there is a source. There is a God. There is a universe, a universal energy that will never give up on you. Please know that. And please always keep that in mind. Now I want to thank you for joining me today. And now that I'm towards the end of my podcast for this day, I wanted to let you know that I don't know if you noticed it, but I have a bit of a dental issue today. And I am going to the dentist tomorrow, but it's a little bit difficult for me to talk. So every once in a while, it affected me. So, and it also is why I'm keeping the podcast a little bit shorter today. But it's all right. It's one of those things in life that we have to go through. It's not painful. It's just inconvenient. Also wanted to remind you to please check out my website, lisahop.com, for all my services, because I do telephone sessions. I also travel for work, and I also do email sessions too. And I do have a YouTube channel. It has nothing on it right now under Lisa Hop. That's a whole story in itself. And Heaven's got something big planned there. So many obstacles involved, but I know what's going on with that. They're just not letting me go small. So I'm fine with that. I'm along for the ride. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope it's a wonderful Sunday for you and a wonderful week. Please also remember to check in tomorrow evening for Monday meditations. I will be loading a meditation this week about prosperity, so I hope you'll join. Thank you, and once again, bless you and have a wonderful day.